Well, welcome again, and we're ready to do another video for you. I'm Maria Elena Castle. I'm the Communications Director for Atheists for Human Rights, and we publish a magazine, The Moral Atheist, and it's all about how we are upholding the morals of non-belief against the barbaric views of religion. So this cover is promoting our book that we just had published called Culture Wars, The Threat to Your Family and Your Freedom. And in future videos we're going to be talking about that, and it's just been published, and it's about all the laws we live under that have only a religious basis and no secular justification, and every single one of us is affected by it adversely, and it covers a whole culture war agenda, you know, the gay rights, abortion rights, health care, and education and censorship and taxes, lots of taxes, stuff like that. So we'll be talking about that in future videos. So in the meantime, go to a bookstore and get it so you can be prepared. Okay. Now today we have a really special guest. It's Richard Meredith. I got that name right because he's from Wales, and he spells his name. I says, "Oh, Meredith." No, and in Welsh it's Meredith.
Meredith. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And he's here, he works in this country, he's got a green card. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to talk about what it's like to be, he's been all around the world, what it's like to have religion in other countries compared to here, because he's a different take. Now, so Richard, how do you compare the United States, the religious aspects, with other places that you've been?
Wow, that's a very leading question. Well, I mean, I talk about it certainly from a British point of view, or maybe from a Welsh perspective. Religion here is part of everyday fibre, everyday being, and it's also rather oddly in the lawmaking process to a certain degree. And you still have politicians here who rather oddly still don't go for evolution and rather believe in superstition, magic, and witches, which is appalling to most of us. And it also inadvertently makes America quite a joke to the rest of the world too, but each to their own. But yeah, I mean, it's astonishing how rooted in the everyday fabric of life it tends to be in this country, because Europeans, we're not even used to that. Even Europeans that come from specifically Catholic countries, let's say, I mean, France is Catholic to a certain degree, Italy, Spain. I mean, religion, although it has a hold on them, it is not as part of the fabric as it is here.
It's kind of like background noise.
Yeah. I mean, it's culturally there because it is for us too. But as far as it being a force of any description, then no.
It's background noise.
It can be used as a social adhesive, certainly more so in the Catholic countries. But I mean, as far as any force of any nature, certainly as it is here, as an argument to beat down different classes of people because you don't like them, or performing injustice against people, then that wouldn't happen.
That's the problem, because here religion is used as a club.
Absolutely, it's a
and
stick to
like,
beat people
for instance,
with.
They put under God in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep,
and that's
in the 50s.
Well, that's to honor God. No, it's a club to beat atheists over the head. And they do that, and in God We Trust in the Money, a club to beat atheists over the head, to say that you don't belong here.
Well, to take the term atheist as well is an interesting thing. Like I said, I don't particularly like the title, and I wouldn't class myself as an atheist per se, because I don't like to compartmentalize myself as any one such thing. But the fact that I don't have any belief in any religion shouldn't make me this or that. But I mean, over here, yeah, I mean, it's used to beat people with. I mean, I've suffered all kinds of abuse from saying, well, I don't believe, so you're an atheist. And I'm like, well, yes. And then next, with some religious people have said, well, you must be a Satanist. And I said, well, that's rather odd argument, because I don't believe in one, why would I automatically be going for the other one? And I've had the same thing from Muslims and different creeds as well. So yeah, I don't like the terminology per se, but I mean, I'm surprised it means anything, because to the rest of us, it's a non-issue.
Well, it doesn't, because if you got rid of, like, for instance, if we didn't have any of these laws that support religion, it's just like really secular, mm-hmm. There wouldn't be any point in being atheists, or we'd just be people.
Exactly.
We'd just be people.
Yep.
Then, yeah, and we had, in our history, in Texas, there were a lot of immigrants came from Germany in the 1800s and settled in Texas, and they set up free-thinking towns where they in Texas, mm-hmm. and they were non-believers, but they didn't call themselves anything,
right?
Because it was whatever. They just said they never had any churches. They focused on educating the young, and their town meetings were all about how to educate the young, and they, the arts and sciences and all that. But they didn't call themselves anything because they were all atheists or non-believers, and there was no point in calling themselves anything.
Right.
You have to call yourself something here because you got to show that you're one of the sane people. You're not one of the nuts.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like I said, for most of us, certainly in Western Europe, certainly amongst the Scandinavian countries, and certainly with Britain, which is the most secular nations on the planet, is that it's a de facto state of being for us that we're not believers in anything.
Yeah.
And that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Because to have a theocracy, you lose democracy as soon as you go that route. And unfortunately, America, certainly in the Bush years, from my time here, was started edging towards that. Thankfully, it's sort of creeping a little back our way, but who knows?
Yeah, it comes and goes. It depends on the political system, and I worry that now that things are, religious right has been kind of driven back a little bit. Now they'll moderate their views to the public, and then people think, oh, they're not so bad, and they'll start voting for them again, and then they'll be all back again. I mean, this is like this pendulum that swings back and forth, and I just,
Yes, religion shouldn't be in
I'm hoping
politics.
that with the internet, there's more information available, because usually, religion had such a hold because mostly people didn't know there was any alternative. I never did when I was growing. I don't think I knew there was such a thing as atheist because I read Catholic books, and they would say things like, the only reason a person would be an atheist is to feel free to live a depraved life. Well, I didn't know I still don't know what a depraved life is, but anyhow. So I knew that somehow out there, but I knew that, they really do believe in God, but they just are, I don't know, too simple. So you get this, but you never really met anybody, and there was no material that I ever knew about. I mean, if I was, I wouldn't even know where to look. And now on the internet, it's all over, and that's I think going to save the day, so that they can't really go, the pendulum can't really go back, as long as you've got this free flow of information, which is really the only thing that kept it going before. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, it's organizations like yours that provide the word that these things are out there, because I think a lot of Americans, maybe I'm being a bit too swathing in my opinion as far as that goes, but certainly a lot of Americans I've met have no idea that there's an alternative lifestyle out there that doesn't have to involve any religion at all. Because most people think that if you have no religion, then you're automatically immoral or amoral for that matter.
Yeah.
And they don't realize that it's an environmental precept. I mean, we develop these things by socializing with each other, and that's how it's always developed. Same way as memes develop. But they just assume it has to come from this book, which is, Bronze Age fantasy.
How can you read the Bible and say that there's anything that immoral comes? And then, they'll put up the Ten Commandments on some courthouse or something, and everybody gets upset. And then somehow, even the atheist community, when I was at a meeting earlier today where I just kind of had a little confrontation about this, because they seem to think that when you challenge something like the Ten Commandments, it's really a religious icon, and I know it has deep meaning for these people, but it's religious, so we can't have it on public property. And I'm saying, no, it's not that it's religious, it's that it's so damn barbaric that it doesn't belong on any public property, because it tells you that you can't worship any god but Yahweh, and it supports slavery, and it has women as property, and there's only like 3 things: don't kill, don't steal, and don't bear false witness, that have any application, and that's just social, civic virtue, which you can't have a decent society without it. The rest is just garbage. The first commandment, really, if you read the whole thing, requires you to sacrifice your firstborn to Yahweh. That's a human sacrifice, and you want that on our courthouse, And I'm saying you challenge it on that basis, that this is barbaric nonsense that doesn't fit with, so. Anyhow, but no, so you can't really treat this stuff as somehow it's something to be respected.
No, and in most other societies in the world, when they've tried to, create religion and make it as an edict as far as the law goes, certainly when we had the Civil War back home, beheaded the king and then the Puritans took over.
Okay, which Civil War were we talking about back home?
The English Civil War.
The English Civil War.
1649 to 1660.
Oh.
So,
is that where they beheaded a king?
Yes.
Oh, that was interesting.
Got rid of the king because he had the God-given right to do what he pleased and didn't need Parliament to
And
dissolve Parliament, and then went his own way, and that didn't work very well at all.
They showed him what the God-given right was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then, of course, then we replaced him with a theocracy, which didn't work out too well either. And, fiddling was banned, music was banned, Christmas was banned, and I mean, even as a person who doesn't believe, I like Christmas.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a winter solstice.
it's a great, fun time. I mean, any time that people can be nice to each other is a good thing. So I don't care what the reason is for it, you can call it what you like.
So I'm wondering if Europe is so much more secular. I'm wondering it's because they were so close to the worst of religion with all those hundreds of years of wars, constantly
I think so.
inquisitions and religion. I think, things are loosening up here now because like with the Bush years and religion kind of overplayed its hand, and people are saying, wait a minute, enough is enough. And I think in Europe they had that business too.
Well, most of us still have. I mean, like I said, it's still an odd thing because even in Britain, you have the Queen is the head of state. She's also the head of the Church of England, which is quite bizarre. But like I said, for us, the Church, it's always there, but it exists as a cultural reference point, as opposed because we did literally evolve from a Christian nation in the old way of looking at it, but. Does it affect us in any way, shape, or form in modern life? No, exactly, and that's a good. And we have some and I love religious architecture. I've been in any country I go to. I always go and have a look at their churches. I mean, there's paintings and art and representations of things which have been done in the name of religion, which are fantastic. And I mean, I adore choral music. I think it's wonderful. However, I've never liked what it stood for.
No.
And the fact it always has to be for this reason. Certainly, if you look at missionary work as well, while I approve of sometimes what they do, I don't believe in the reasons why they do it. And certainly, Mother Teresa is a good example of that. I mean, she's quite a cruel woman.
Oh, yeah.
And all the things they say she did very good things. She treated her own people terribly.
Oh,
and if you weren't willing to turn, oh dear.
I was over in India, and I talked to people there, and they are very polite people, and so they always publicly treated Mother Teresa with respect, but privately they said she was a disaster for India, and they would not let her take care of childbearing women because of her position on birth control.
Absolutely.
And so she could only take care of old people. But then she let them suffer, because suffering is a kiss of Jesus. Oh, geez, so it's just so barbaric, and I think more attention has to be paid to the barbaric aspects of religion, and it's just the fact that there are liberal religionists now, that's because they moved away from their traditional, or they give up, they become more human and more moral by giving up those traditional beliefs. And so, I'm a delegate to our Congressman Keith Ellis, and he's a Muslim. He's got this interfaith dialogue, and he gets us all together, so go to that thing, and I'm a kind of a token atheist. Me and Randy Tyke would go there, where they almost pat us on the head. They're so cute to have these atheists. But we get along fine because we talk about the issues related to the common good, and we agree on everything. The only difference is that they do this, God calls us to do this common good stuff, and Randy and I say, well, we just do it because it needs to be done. And other than that, we're just fine, so there's no problem.
Well, yeah, but I mean, back home, certainly the Church of Wales, I can speak about that a little bit, because the Church of Wales obviously was part of the Church of England, the overall church, which of course was formed when Henry VIII broke away from the Catholic Faith because he wanted to marry X amount of women and they wouldn't let him. So we disestablished ourselves in 1920. And it'd be what Americans know as Episcopalian for the most part. But I've got friends who are vicars within the Church of Wales, and I've had long discussions with them about religion, and most of them, the Bible's only allegory and metaphor at best.
Yeah.
And they don't believe one word of it as far as the literal truth goes.
And
they're surprised, when I've gone home and said, well, I've met people who believe it literally, that the Earth's only 6,000 years old.
Interesting stories, I still like, the Technicolor Dreamcoat thing.
Joseph, yeah.
Joseph. And there's some really interesting stories, but they're just stories.
Well, and most of them are rehashes from previous religions, though, as well. Like Gilgamesh, I mean, you can find the flood story and different things. Mithras, you have your 12 acolytes. You've got being born on the 25th of December. He was crucified. I mean, all this stuff has been done before. The demigod Hercules, Dionysus. You could just go on and on and on. It's all rehashes, and it was sold to people under bill of goods, the Council of Nicaea, when Christianity became the official Church of Rome, and they said, okay, you have to have this, so let's subsume whatever you've got and go. But unfortunately, most of it was done through force and coercion. Yeah. That's not how you should build any religion.
Yeah, but that's, it doesn't, well, I guess it did work for the Catholic Church because they did Christianize Europe by force.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
Yeah.
it's-
Empty promises.
Yeah, and there's nothing you could do about it. At any rate, so, you got, if I ask you what that shirt says,
Yes.
is it something that's printable in English that we dare?
It's just the name of my country.
It is? Wait.
Cymru. That's Wales.
Oh, say that again.
Cymru.
Cymru?
Mm-hmm. Cymru. Cymru.
I'm
That's,
probably-
that's the Welsh name for Wales. The term Wales and Whaler and Welsh comes from the term Walash, which is what the Romans called us, which means strangers.
Oh.
We're the original British. We're the original British
Yeah.
people. We were there before the Gaels, who are the Irish and the Scots, arrived.
A stranger. Well, I was calling this show An Atheist in a Strange Land, so maybe
That's
I should
certainly
say
true.
from a strange land, because you're here, you're in a strange land, because you see America so strange, because it's appalling. I think you said it's appalling.
Well, I mean, that aspect of it is, I mean, America's unique. I mean, I lived in Australia and I've been to many, many countries.
Isn't there a science fiction show, a book, Stranger in a Strange Land?
Yes, there is, yeah, I believe
Maybe
there
I
is.
should call you that.
But, you know, I mean, yeah, that aspect of it, the fact that when I first, like I said, when I first came here, I was amazed, completely amazed. I thought they were joking, you know, because my wife at the time said, oh no, I said, what's this traffic interruption here? She goes, oh no, they go to church. I said, really? They need a cop for that? Oh yeah, and he had to hold up traffic. I knew hundreds of people going to this church.
Where was this?
This was in Florida.
Oh, Florida, not here, you know.
No, oh no, not here. But I mean, I'd never seen anything like that, ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And I was like, wow. So I said, well, I want to go and see what this is all about. So I had to take me. I was appalled. Because first of all,
Was
it's
it one of those mega churches or just a regular church?
no, it was an all-faith, non-denominational congregation, if I remember rightly. But I mean, even then, it was not a Christianity that I recognised from being a child. Because I mean, I was raised without any religion. My father's a Quaker, but I mean, we weren't raised with any religious knowledge at all. I mean, you get some in school because they have to put it in the curriculum until you're 12. And then you like forget it and you're done, because it has quite the state. But it's only very vague and it's only a bunch of stories and it makes the Easter eggs taste nicer or whatever. But yeah, so I went to this one in Florida and there was a couple of guys with guitars and someone with some drums and someone with some tambourines, and they made a lot of noise and some very poor songs. But it wasn't in Christianity I recognise. Christianity I recognise is full of tradition. You know, so you have the hymns, especially in Wales, of William Williams Pantycelyn. You know, so you have Cymron, the Guide Me, O the Great Jehovah, which, although I don't agree with the sentiment, I love the tunes. The tune's fantastic. You know, so you have all those grand traditions, but not here. If this was all horrible Christian music, as I call it, it's like Christian rock music is an anathema to me as well. You know, and then they started banging on about stuff which is plain not true. They started on about abortion issues and talking about how the fetus has a soul from moment of conception. And I was like, well, no one studied any biology, obviously.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, just absolute rubbish. And these people are lapping it up, and then they got to some sort of rapture where everybody was. I've never seen people, unless they've been high, you know, clapping and being like this. I mean, you have to take drugs where I come from to get like that, or drink a lot. And so I was quite horrified and a little disturbed by it. And then I was in Guatemala, and I went to an evangelical church there, and that was even more bizarre. But at least the guy there saw the look I was giving him, and he knew that I wasn't really into it. Anyway, but that's another story. So yeah, I just find it all very odd. Very, very odd indeed. And how people can stand up and literally say, well, there's, you know, that evolution is a fallacy and anyone who believes in it is a devil worshipper is just appalling.
Yeah. Well,
The lack of education is just beyond me.
Yeah, it's really a total ignorance, and they're kept in ignorance. And they don't want to learn. They don't want they've got these beliefs and they don't want them questioned.
Well, you know, even the Baptists in the South, I mean, they're using their religion in the same way as it was used in our country in the 1850s. Baptists back home, I know several, because we have a Baptist chapel in our village, are nothing like that. Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, the two things couldn't be more different. I mean, religious people that I do know back home would not recognise religious people here.
Back in Wales, how are they? What are they?
Well, they're quite a hard-drinking, hard-living kind of bunch, really. So, you know, I mean, they have Sunday school, and a few of them will go to Sunday school and they read a bit of that. But I mean, they're all getting drunk after.
Oh,
I mean, everybody back home in Israel, they just likes to drink and likes to party.
That's the best.
But here, oh yeah, here is completely different. There's only the Methodists I know who don't drink, and there's very few of them left. You know.
Okay, Well, you've been down south in
Yeah.
the United States, and now you're up here in Minnesota. And what's the difference you see?
Oh, it's a completely different country.
Yeah, well,
Astoundingly different, because I mean...
Unless I'm hoping, because they, I don't want it to be like that.
Well, I mean, I don't mean to be mean to the people south of the
yeah.
Mason-Dixie line. However, but I mean, I have found the education is vastly superior up here.
Yeah.
I mean, which helps a lot.
Yeah.
And then, people read books. They read books up here. They're educated. And even if they don't agree with something, they're willing to question it. Whereas down south, people just tend to go along with whatever they're told, and that's it. Especially in Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, the Carolinas, which is shocking because it's such a beautiful couple of states, but ruined by the ignorance of the people. I mean, and then the most unchristian of behaviours. I mean, I've been spat on. I've had people trap me in a prayer circle, which I thought was quite interesting.
I got out of a prayer circle one time too.
I've been threatened.
And the promise keepers.
Oh, I've been threatened. I'm threatened with violence many times, especially the guy who spat at me. I was quite intrigued by that because he wasn't even part of the conversation I was having. I was having a conversation with someone in a bar in Georgia about religion and the fact that where I come from, it has no meaning whatsoever. And then the guy came round from the back and just walked over and just spat on me and just walked out. And I said, well, why was that? He said, just simply because you're not a believer.
And he spat on you.
That's a lovely Christian way to be.
You didn't deck him?
No.
I mean, you look
what would the point be?
Well, you look like you could do it.
Yeah, but violence doesn't solve anything. And the fact that Christians often, when they get into heated arguments with me, would rather visit violence upon me than listen to what I've got to say or even think about anything.
That's their only response. I've never seen them respond with any rational argument.
Well, and that's the problem. That's why I always find Christians over here, quite, not all of them, but a lot of them per se, have been very much of a disappointment to me because all they want to do is fight with you. I mean, in the worst possible way. It's not a very Christian thing. If we want to take the edicts of your philosophy and apply it, you're acting completely anti to what I am. In fact, I'm more Christian than you are.
If they were so sure they had the truth, then why can't they sit down and talk about?
There's room for everything in this world. Absolutely.
Why they believe it's the truth?
Because I think it's a threat.
Well, the Bible says so. Well, how did a book can say anything? You can't prove a book by a book.
But the Bible says many things.
And it's not different on every page. That's why you have a different religion for every page.
Well, that's right. And people cherry pick it as they do with most religious texts, especially the Quran's no different either.
Yeah.
For that matter, I've argued with Muslims as much as I have with Christians. It's just that Christians are the majority here, so I tend to meet with them more than anyone else.
Yeah.
But no, here since I've been in Minnesota 2 years, it's been great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like living at home. Almost.
Yeah, we have had our spells where we had people in office that, but we've gotten rid of a lot of the worst ones. Yeah.
But I mean, I think the greatest difference from a non-American perspective, and you can ask any European, is that we do not discuss religion in any way, shape or form in our everyday lives. I mean, you can go to any country in Northern Europe and have a conversation with people from all different faiths, but no one's going to broach religion with you. It just doesn't happen.
That's because it's not important.
Because it's not important.
Here it's important because they're out to control our lives, and so you kind of have to talk about it because...
Yeah, but this whole country was founded on the complete antithesis of that. That's what I find so puzzling.
No, they say it's founded on religious in the Bible and all that.
Not if you read it.
It's not founded on the Bible because there's nothing about our Constitution that's even close to the Bible.
Ben Franklin would completely disagree with them.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the founders.
Thomas Jefferson wrote his own Bible.
Yeah.
Because he didn't like the way it was. I mean, the founding fathers of this country had a lovely idea, but unfortunately they couldn't bring the people in who had the sense to keep it up.
Yeah. Well, they were a unique group, and they were in a position in a historical time when everybody wanted to keep religion out of government because they'd had enough of it over in Europe.
Absolutely.
What is it that the purpose of separation of church and state is to keep forever from these shores the bloody strife that is soaked the soil of Europe with blood. Anyhow, they were tired of the religious wars.
However, it is a misnomer. I think a lot of Americans are taught wrongly, though, in their history that America was founded by people who were fleeing religious persecution to come here and worship their own thing. No, the people who came here to subjugate everybody else.
Yes, I know.
Because the Religious Tolerance Act was passed in 1689. Dissension was quite common. It wasn't. Not everybody went. Some people went to jail for it, granted, because they were nuts. And they want to do all kinds of things in the name of religion. So yes, of course we sent them here, and parts of this country were a penal colony too.
Yeah.
So, but the people who did come here, the Puritans who set up in Salem and everything, they just came to subjugate everybody else, and that's how they did.
The first law passed in the colonies was one that fined you for if you didn't go to church. That means there were people not going to church, or they wouldn't have needed that.
Exactly.
The first law fined you for not going to church. That means okay.
Most of the Welsh that came here to make a buck, because they used to advertise tracts of land, and there was plenty of land, and they came here to make a buck. And I'm amused when I meet Welsh American societies, and I've dealt with several of them over here. They're always very religious, and I'm like, why? Because we don't do that thing anymore.
Yeah.
We haven't. How can you got so separated from your own culture to be like that?
Yeah.
You know, they've held on to beliefs that mean nothing to us.
Yeah.
The chattel community's non-conformism, let's see, in the religious census of 1851 in the UK, especially in Wales, in my own country, 97% of the people identified themselves as non-conformist. Because to be an Anglican member of the established church, Church of Wales, Church of England, whatever you want to call it, meant you had certain privileges that the chapel people did not. However, in the 2001 census, most people, like I said, all identify themselves as Christian out of cultural reference, but as believers, regular goers, no.
Yeah, they are.
There aren't any.
No, I mean, when I decided I was atheist, that I mentioned it, I found, like, I counted 18 people, including family members, who said, oh, I don't believe in that stuff either, you know, but they'd never told me because I never asked. But here there were 18 close friends and family members that were also atheists, and I'd never known it.
Right.
But they didn't know, you know, so we all, okay, you have to speak up. And now we're running out of time.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks for being here, Richard.
Oh, my pleasure.
Richard Meredith.
Meredith, that's
okay,
right.
From whatever that word is in Wales.
Yep.
Okay, so if you want to get our magazine, just ask, you know, you can get it by PDF, or we'll send it in the mail. And you 3 issues free, just to check us out. And so, okay, tune in again, because we're going to have some more really good videos, and especially about their book, Culture Wars. And so, okay, thanks for watching, and thanks for being here, Richard.
My pleasure.
And it was a lot of fun having you. I like to hear
Thank
about
you.
how other countries are civilized. I'm waiting for this. Okay, I'm waiting for the day we don't even have to have an atheist program, because
That'd be good.
you know, it's like we scrape the barnacles off the boat and we're free and clear. Okay, thanks for viewing, and tune in again next time. Bye.